Ground control to Major Tom. Ground.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Andy's History Lessons. And yes, as you can see, I've got my hedgehog hair going. Enough about my hair. This is the 4th episode of Fun Fridays. And for this episode, I'm going to be talking about something really special, and that is the Apollo landings. Now, in 1967, that was when NASA officially began doing test runs with their new Apollo rockets that they had been building. And in that same year, they decided to do a manned test run, which is basically where they do a test run of the rocket, but with a crew inside. Well, during that test run, everything went haywire. A fire broke out in the cabin of the spaceship, which caused the whole thing to... Yeah, but NASA would not be deterred by this. They kept pressing on. And then in October of 1968, Apollo 7, manned by a crew, orbited the Earth.
Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare.
And then Apollo 8 took a crew of astronauts to the dark side of the moon, code pink as in Floyd, and then safely back to Earth. Apollo 9 tested the lunar module while it was in Earth's orbit. Apollo 10 was the first completed spacecraft taken into orbit around the Earth. And then Apollo 11 was the official Apollo moon landing, piloted by Neil Armstrong. May he rest in peace. Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering, why were we trying to go into space? Well, the Soviet Union in the previous decade had been sending their cosmonauts up to space. A lot of their cosmonauts died because their rockets had design flaws, which caused their rockets to blow up, same as a couple of ours have done. For example, the Apollo test I just briefly mentioned, and the Challenger explosion. I'm not going to do a video on that one. That's out of the question, for respect for the deceased and all that. So, what happened after that was we were trailing behind the Soviet Union in the space race. So then President JFK, President Kennedy, he said that we should be focused on putting a man on the moon before the end of the decade, before the end of the 60s. And here's a direct quote from him. He said, "I believe this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth." Apollo 11 began at 9:30 a.m. on my grandpa's 18th birthday, July 16th. So on July 16th, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, the Apollo rocket took off from Cape Canaveral, Florida, and it began its ascent up to space. And then by 10:30 p.m., Apollo 11 touched down on the surface of the moon. And that's when Neil Armstrong said one of his famous quotes, and that quote was to NASA, saying, "The Eagle has landed." And then, as he stepped onto the surface of the moon, that's when he said that legendary quote, "That's one small step for man, and one giant leap for all mankind." And that's basically it. That was the first successful moon landing. Okay, guys, that is it. This concludes part 1 of my Apollo landings series. I will be doing part 2 shortly. I would like to give a shout out to History.com, the official website of the History Channel, one of my favorite TV channels, for providing me with the subject material I needed to take the notes to make this video. I'm not sponsored by History Channel, although I wish I was. I really do wish I was sponsored by History Channel. Call me, contact me. But yes, okay, that is it for part 1 of the Apollo series. I hope you guys are having a good day, or that you've had a good day. Peace out and rock on.